Oh, dear friends, what a week it has been. America is a cesspool, and I hope that you all have floating devices because my God, staying above the fray is taking an obscene amount of effort. Welcome to a weekend wrap up or a weekday wrap up or just my God, put this shit in a burrito and stuff it in the sewer. Can we just do that? Welcome to the Danielle Moodie Show, dear friends. Let's get into it. Welcome to a special edition of the Danielle Moodie Show on this Good Friday as we look back at the week in fuckery because my God damn. I'm telling you, friends, you know that I have been abroad and have had the privilege to have a long distance view at America, and I cannot express to you. I know that every day we wake up, we look at our phones, we scroll, we look at the news, we look outside, and we're just like, where are we? But I tell you that when you have the opportunity to just step away for a hot minute and then you receive the alerts on your phone, it's like, is America a real place? Is it a cartoon? I only wish that it was a cartoon or some made up series in Hollywood that we could fast forward through because living in it, Lord help us. But there are some good highlights. And here's the thing, you all know I cannot stand Gavin Newsom. He's an opportunist. I began the year talking about the fact that this motherfucker decided to bring Steve Bannon and Charlie Kirk onto his podcast because he wanted to understand the ways of conservative men and we need to have conversations with each other. He saw the way that the wind was blowing and he decided to get on board. But then it turned out that guess what? That wasn't going to be enough. That Donald Trump was going to come for him regardless of who he was going to have on his little podcast. And so now Gavin Newsom has done a complete 180, and his team, if anyone needs an Emmy right now, it is Gavin Newsom's social media team because they are doing the Lord's work. Okay. I know that it's not a lot for us to be able to laugh at the fuckery that is happening right now, but thank you to them because sometimes we need to laugh so that we don't cry. Can you take a look at this? Gavin Newsom press office. First of all caps. Bravo. Stellar. Beyond the beautiful, perfect maps, Donald J. Trump has much bigger problems. Soon, I, Gavin C. Newsom, will be sharing records that should concern him. I didn't want to release them out of respect for the office of the president, not the president. But Mike Littleman Johnson's House Oversight Committee has requested them. Whoops. Won't be pretty for Donnie J. Many are saying it could be the final nail in his long career of lying. This and the maps. It's over. Thank you for your attention to this matter. GCN. Folks, this is how you do it. Why were we trying to be the adults in the room? Why have we, for the last 10 years, been trying to meet this man's bullshit with facts and figures when, in fact, you could just turn around his own rhetoric and even his own literal typeface against him and just let it rock? Like, this is what Gavin Newsom's team is doing. They're like, oh, so we'll just be as ridiculous and foolish as Donald Trump is, and we'll see what the media picks up on. And it is brilliant. Okay. We don't need to meet this fool like up here. I know back in the day, our beloved forever First Lady said, what? When they go low, we go high. But I have long since said, when they go low, we go to the fucking sewer and beyond. I am so not interested in being the adult in the room. I am so not interested in showing people how smart and how well mannered we are. We live in the upside down world, friends. And if you can't beat them, I say join them and then beat them at their own game a million times over. And that is exactly what Newsom's team is doing. And it is stellar. But it doesn't stop there. Because here's also what he's doing. Reporter, what's going on with those posts on X that are clearly trolling the president? Newsom, I hope it's a wake up call for the president. I'm just following his example. If you have issues with what I'm putting out, you sure as hell should have concern with what he's doing.
We're out of time.
Can you talk a little bit about
Can you react to what's going on with those posts on X that are clearly trolling the president?
What?
Can you just talk about that? Is that like a strategy?
I don't know. I hope it's a wake-up call to the President of the United States. I'm sort of following his example. If you've got issues with what I'm putting out, you sure as hell should have concerns about what he's putting out as president. So to the extent it's gotten some attention, I'm pleased. But I think the deeper question is, how have we allowed the normalization of his tweets through social posts over the course of the last many years to go without similar scrutiny and notice?
Because facts. Why is it that a reporter now has the temerity to say to the governor of California, what's going on with your social media posts? They seem to be trolling the president. And he very clearly says, if you have a problem with my posts, then why haven't you had a problem with Donald Trump's posts over the last decade? Why have we normalized the fuckery that is coming out of the office of the president, but you now want to ask me a question about how I'm responding to what the president of the United States is saying? This is how Democrats could have and should have been moving over the last decade. But instead, again, they wanted to be the adults in the room. And every time that Donald Trump would put out one of his absolutely insane social media tweets, truth social bullshit posts, they wanted to say, oh, this is not dignifying the office of the presidency, rather than reflecting back to the media the thing that you say is normal. But now all of a sudden that the governor of California does it, oh, now we're going to call into question. But when the president of the United States is fucking posting in all caps, saying the most absolutely absurd shit, you don't say anything. That's not front page news. That's not running in the New York Times or the Washington Post. But now you want to ask a question. Well, where have those questions been for the last 10 years? Just asking. So the moves that he's making are brilliant. Other moves that people are making, Democrats in the state of Texas. So, breaking news as of the time of this recording, the Texas House fails to reach a quorum to pass the redistricting gerrymandered map since Democrats are still away from Texas. The special session is now over. Greg Abbott is forced to call a second session or drop his plans entirely. But here's the thing. He did not drop his plans entirely. No, Texas Governor Greg Abbott orders a second 30-day special session to begin immediately after the first ended without a quorum. He previously vowed to convene the state legislature until House Democrats return to vote on the GOP's gerrymandered map. Well, here's the thing. They're not going to vote on that bullshit map because the map is bullshit, right? Like, they're not going to pretend that this is actual real policy or legislative prowess or some type of strategic move. What we do know is that this is the state of Texas kowtowing to Donald Trump, who, when he asked for 11,700 and something odd votes back during the election from Georgia, the state of Georgia actually said, no, we're not finding you those votes. Remember back when he asked Zelensky, oh, can you do me a favor though? And Zelensky said, no, I'm not going to do you a favor, no. But now when he turns 5 years later to the state of Texas and says, we're not going to win midterms because our policies are widely unpopular. I'm underwater on every single issue that people supposedly voted me into office for, not to mention the fact that the big bullshit billionaire bailout bill is wildly unpopular. Well, I'm going to need 5 more seats so that we can secure the House and secure the Senate, and I can secure power going against the will of the people. What did Greg Abbott say? Sure, boss. Whatever you need, boss. I'll do whatever it takes, boss. And so right now, House Democrats are in Texas are doing the Lord's work. They said, deuces, we're not voting for this bullshit. So we'll see what happens now that Greg Abbott has called a second special session to last for 30 days, whether or not Democrats have a new strategy or if they're just going to stay away indefinitely. We will see what happens. But we do know that they have been called for arrest. They've been called for treason by the state of Texas. So what will happen? Because this will continue to fail until they show up. So if you can't force them to be there and they just stay away for the next several months, what is Greg Abbott going to do? But boy, oh boy, again, Newsom's office, top fucking notch. So it's amazing. Out of Fox News, reporter says Greg Abbott, who is in a wheelchair, and Newsom said he rolled over for Trump. We asked for a statement, and Newsom's office said something flippant. Oh, like you're so woke. So this is what they said. So here's the thing, because Fox wants to play like, oh my God, Gavin Newsom said to Greg Abbott, he rolled over for Donald Trump. And oh my God, how terrible of that to say, because he is a person with disabilities and he is in a wheelchair. Because all of a sudden conservatives give a fuck about people with special needs or people with wheelchairs. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has put out executive orders that essentially put those people in institutionalized facilities. But now we're supposed to believe that they're so outraged. So Gavin Newsom's office says this. Like, what do you want to say about this? Like, was that flippant? Blah, 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 blah. Their response, no. But how woke of you to ask. I'm sorry Greg's feelings were hurt. Poor guy. We hope he recovers. So instead of caving to their bullshit and their lies and their faux outrage, instead of melting in the face of what they want to deem as wrong, you shouldn't do X, Y, and Z. Meanwhile, they do everything but have any dignity, grace, compassion, thoughtfulness. Gavin Newsom said, I don't care. I'm sorry his feelings were hurt. He'll get over it or he'll roll over it. I don't give a fuck. And I love this for him and this office. And everyone else should take note. Because they also had problems with Representative Jasmine Crockett referring to Greg Abbott as Hot Wheels. That's what everybody in the state refers to him as. He's in a wheelchair and he's hell on wheels. So they call him Hot Wheels. I'm sorry. Are we supposed to infantilize people that have disabilities? Because the far right told us that that's not a thing. And either you put them in some type of state-run facility or you pretend that they don't exist. So which one is it? Miss me with the bullshit. Next up, Kristi Noem, the dog killer in chief. So according to the Washington Post, Ice Barbie is now living for free in a military home typically reserved for the U.S. Coast Guard's top admiral. So Kristi Noem got a job to cosplay authority She gets her hair blown out and her makeup done every day so that she can pose with a vest on Fox News in front of jail cells and in front of, incarcerated brown people. And so she can act tough. And now, on top of which, she doesn't even pay for her own housing. No, we, the American people, are paying for her and her whole cosplaying routine. Isn't that lovely? She's not an admiral. She's not anyone who's achieved anything in life. But here they go with their white mediocrity on full display. It's sickening. But what brought me a little bit of joy, and this video doesn't have any sound. The DC Sandwich Party will go down alongside the Boston Tea Party as one of the greatest stands against tyranny in American history. So we know that right now, Donald Trump has taken over Washington, D.C. for its 30-year low crime rate for no reason whatsoever than to once again show his force and military grit with having, I don't know, military officers in fatigues patrol Georgetown, one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in the country, while people are on their way to get a sandwich. And this guy in his pink polo and khaki shorts, he seemed to have had enough. It's so good. He threw a sandwich and then ran. And then they chased him. They're chasing him. He's also not running that fast. They chase him down for what? Accosting a police officer? This is how fragile these fucking fools are. But bravo to this hero. Not all people wear capes. On top of which, also, shout out to our friends, our brothers and sisters across the pond. Because while JD Vance is vacationing at a luxury resort that is $28,000 a week, that of course he's not paying for, we the American people are paying for, Jamel Hill, brilliant journalist, writes this. Amazing how people suddenly don't care about the role of the VP. I wonder what changed. Remember when everyone in America was so concerned with what the vice president was doing and where they were spending their money and their time and being a heartbeat away from the White House and all and the presidency and all? It was a big deal when there was a Black and Asian woman was a heartbeat away from the presidency, but when it's a white man, evidently we don't give a fuck. Because I'm curious, does anybody know what JD Vance is tasked with other than vacationing? Does anyone know what his portfolio consists of? Because I can remember not too long ago when Vice President Kamala Harris was given the rundown on what she was and wasn't doing. All of a sudden, though, this motherfucker can raise rivers in order to kayak. He can vacation all around the world on our dime, and no one gives a shit. Amazing, isn't it? I wonder what it is. I can't quite put my finger on it. On top of which, you know how Republicans always say the quiet parts out loud and they call the rest of us pedophiles and they call queer people pedophiles and we need to focus on the family and there's a denigration that has happened in society, etc., etc. Isn't it funny how it always turns out that the people that are the pedophiles and the drug addicts and the cheaters, that they always seem to be a part of the Republican Party? Ex-councilman accused of masturbating in City Hall. No, this is not an Onion article, and no, this is something that you don't see every day, but everyone pause for shock. And once again, Gavin Newsom's team, top fucking notch. Quote, "You won't be handing us anything, Carl, because if you look down at the bottom, Carl, who is now accused of masturbating in City Hall, wrote, I am looking forward to November 4th when California voters hand Gavin Newsom a humiliating defeat by rejecting his corrupt and dishonest redistricting scheme. In one fell swoop, they will, 1, defend fair elections, and 2, his political career. And now that we know that someone is jacking off on the job, Newsom's office says, you won't be handing us anything, Carl." Projection. Always. Always projection. And then there are some that, they don't actually say what they stand for, but their actions sometimes speak louder than words. So in this instance, I hand it to Tom Cruise, who declined a major Kennedy Center award from Donald Trump. See, Donald Trump needed an A-lister to attend the bullshit Kennedy Awards that he's decided that he's hosting, and the takeover of the Kennedy Center, and he wanted to give it to Tom Cruise. And Tom Cruise has had scheduling conflicts and will not be able to attend. But, thanks so much, but no thanks. So instead, who is getting that award? Sylvester Stallone. My, how far we've fallen. And then there's this. There are some people who you once really liked, right? Because they stayed in their role. Not to say with the shut up and dribble, right? That LeBron James was told to do so many years ago when he was offering his thoughts and opinions as a Black man living in America. But there are some times when you're thinking to yourself, how did this person become a political analyst and is now on CNN? And that would be this person right here. Now, I don't know if everybody knows who she is. Jillian Michaels. Jillian Michaels came to fame during the age of The Biggest Loser, right? That show where people were, 200 or so pounds overweight, and then they would go on this epic show, and Jillian Michaels and another male trainer would get them into shape and would be their therapist, their personal trainer, nutritionist, etc. And then they would drop this extraordinary weight and they'd win a big prize. And she was the tough, tell it like it all trainer. And I adored her, right? She's the person that I get the phrase, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I used to watch Jillian Michaels videos. I used to do her exercise stuff because when it came to exercise and fitness, she knew her shit. Could somebody explain to me why CNN would have her on talking about politics? And now she's on with Richie Torres, who is a known Zionist. So no one is standing here saying, oh, Richie Torres is right. No, he's not. He's a Zionist. And I do not fucking get down with the shit that he says or does. But this segment, not about him. It's about her. Take a listen.
And you cannot tie imperialism and racism and slavery to just one race, which is pretty much what every single exhibit does. But let's talk about the fact that when you
can't tie slavery.
let's talk about the fact.
I mean, slavery in America was.
Do you realize that only less than 2% of white Americans owned slaves?
But it was a system of white supremacy.
You realize that slavery is thousands of years old?
White people were.
Do you know who was the first race to try to end slavery?
Wait a second.
Well, what's controversial?
I'm very surprised.
This is an extraordinary exercise in historical revisionism.
I'm really surprised.
Do you realize that?
Jillian, I'm
Who booked Jillian Michaels, a fitness trainer, to sit on a panel on CNN and talk about slavery and defend slavery and white supremacy because she wants to offer up the percentage of white people that actually owned slaves? When in fact, it was a white supremacist institution. White people that had wealth and power are the ones who owned other human beings and kept that act up for 400 years of torture, rape, brutalization, and terrorism. And then when it was over, created policies so that the recently freed Black people couldn't own property, couldn't get married, couldn't have self-determination. But Jillian Michaels, a fitness instructor, found herself not talking about health and human services, which again, still would be a fucking stretch, but maybe at least in her wheelbarrow, in her wheelhouse, is on a panel talking about imperialism and defending slavery. I did not have that on my bingo card for 2025, but because we live in Dante's Inferno, here we are. I close out today, dear friends, with this. Van Lathan, whom is a podcast host of the show Higher Learning. He is somebody that I've interviewed and somebody who I don't necessarily agree with all the time, but who definitely asks tough questions, offers critical thought, and deserves to be on CNN panels having conversation. And this is what he said with regard to where America, where Black Americans find themselves right now. And this is where we will close out today. Take a listen.
A post-Reconstruction time where the Confederate battle flag is adopted, where the Ku Klux Klan arises and comes to power, all for one reason. And these monuments and these people are romanticized, all for one reason, to control and terrorize Black people.
That's right.
So moving away from those monuments, from celebrating those people, is actually a strong sign of actual reconciliation, that we don't want Black people to live in fear of racial terror and slavery anymore. And to repower those things and those images is saying, it's to me, saying the opposite of that. But here's the difference. I'm not about to cry over the statue. You know why? Because we're not scared no more. We're not afraid. We never really were. We're not afraid of statues. We're not afraid of the cultural terrorists. Our eyes are wide open in terms of what America means for us. And if the president and his administration want to cozy up to the worst parts of American history, we see them. Point blank, period.
But they should be asked why they're okay with it.
But that's the thing, folks. And this is what I've been saying. We need to appreciate and provide gratitude with all of the masks falling off and everyone revealing themselves for who they are. We can't pretend anymore that Donald Trump isn't a racist and a white nationalist. We can't pretend anymore that the Republican Party, along with Democrats, are in a cabal of pedophilia, misogyny, and abuse of women and girls. We can't pretend that the people that say that they are for us and support us also support genocide and sign off on the very weaponry that is starving Gaza. Everyone is being shown for who they are so that you can get crystal clear about the actions you need to take moving forward. You see, no one is coming to save us. There is going to be no one coming in on anybody's white horseback, wielding a sword that says, "Here, come, I will show you the way forward." It is up to all of us to decide what kind of country, what kind of world we want to live in, what we want to support and what we don't want to support, where we want to place our dollars and where we want to place our attention. So for those that want to show us how in bed they are with capitalists and genocidal maniacs, we see you. We see you for who you are. For the Trump administration that wants to reinstall Confederacy and rename ships and roads and resurrect statues, we see you. And we, the people, are not going to crumble at your sight of domination. You think a statue is going to make us crumble? You think some tanks rolling around Washington, D.C. are going to have us in fear? We see you. You're weak. You're small. And every single action that you are taking shows us that. You don't know what you're doing. So you're just going to throw a whole bunch of shit at the wall. And I'm not going to say people aren't going to be harmed, because they are. But at the end of the day, much like your dictator predecessors, you'll fail. And you'll fail spectacularly. And there will be some of us still alive to tell the stories over and over again and make sure that the next time around, we don't make the same fucking mistakes, because we're not going to be indoctrinated by lies, and we're not going to pretend that we're better than we are. We're going to be honest with our mistakes. We're going to be honest about the path that we want to move forward on. And we will do so without you. So have a good time while you can. But TikTok, motherfucker, your time is up. That is it for me today, dear friends, on the Danielle Moodie Show, Friday edition, weekday wrap up. I will be back on Monday, and I am excited, dear friends, that, you know what? This country is hard, the world is hard, but we are in it together. So as I always end each and every show, power to the people, and to all the people power. Get woke, stay sane, and in these extraordinarily dangerous times, dear friends, do stay safe. I will see you back here. Take care of yourselves and be well.